Hello from Yerevan. I'm analyzing for you the game from the second round of European Individual Chess Championship. I played with another Armenian player, Arshak Ramazian. I had black pieces today. Again, I couldn't prepare because he doesn't have too many games in the database. I just chose to play Sicilian. And okay, on the second move I played e6. I had no idea basically what he was going to do. I was expecting him to push d4 and take with knight. Okay, he started with knight c3. For a few moments I was hoping that he would play some closed Sicilian position. After a6 maybe he could start with g3. And well, this is something that most of us enjoy when we can just equalize position easily with black pieces. But okay, today my opponent pushed d4, and after the exchange I played queen c7. Now white has many possibilities, and the most dangerous one probably is bishop d3, but Arshak pushed g3, and I just remember when I was a kid I used to play like this, and g3 was somehow not so great because of bishop b4. And now if white plays bishop d2, that is, let's say, normal reaction, I can play knight c6, immediately challenging this knight that is for the moment without protection. White probably has to take, and after d takes c6, let's say bishop g2, I can push e5 and develop my knight to f6, play bishop g4 with tempo, trying to create some to provoke some weakening move by white. Okay, black should have just equal position. So white normally plays knight e2 here. Then I actually immediately returned with my bishop, because bishop has nothing to do on b4. I remember once I played differently. I don't remember now exactly how, something like this. And maybe I castle. I was not very careful. I thought I would return to e7 later, but my opponent played bishop f4. It was many years ago, at least 10 years ago. Now if I push d6, then white plays a3, and there is some problem there. So if I push e5, white plays bishop g5 and starts fighting for d5 square. So what else? I can play knight e5, and white goes queen d4, and I probably just lose some material. So I was not sure if I should return immediately, but bishop has nothing to do on b4 anymore. So I just played bishop e7, and after bishop g2, knight c6, normal move, developing move. Arshak was thinking he wanted to push a4, I had some feeling, but I didn't mind it too much, because after a4 I can still play b6 and I get the b4 square. So here, well, I was thinking about playing b5, but white can just jump to d5 maybe, and I have to take this knight. Then he takes with a pawn, and I was not sure. I mean, probably my position is worse, because now his bishop from g2 opens, and I'm a bit late with my development. Maybe something like knight f6, and he can take. I take. Okay, this position is just worse for me. He can play knight d4, a4, many different things. Bishop f4 comes with tempo. So of course the most important thing is that I cannot move my knight here because of d6, and I'm going to be just an exchange down without any compensation. So I decided just to complete my development first with knight f6, and here I have some idea in this position not to push d6 too early, because it seems there is no need for this move, this typical Sicilian move. Arshak played h3. Well, he probably needs this move if he wants to develop bishop to e3, because I'm going to jump knight g4 otherwise. In this position, maybe... no, actually he pushed a4 here. If I'm not wrong, he started with a4, yes, that's right, a4 to stop b5. Okay, makes some sense. Castle. And now maybe he should try to play with b3 and bishop b2, I don't know. I mean, this is just some normal and very solid setup. Okay, he played h3, and I just continued with b6. I mean, this is my idea, not to push d pawn too early. Okay, white probably can still jump to d5. And after I take, he takes. And okay, now it seems that my position is not worse, at least. I can just recapture on c6, I will develop my pieces and have equal position. Or maybe I have some other tactical options. I was not sure and I didn't check too much. This move looked like a good move. And well, I don't know, maybe he should still prefer some other plan, but he decided to push f4 and take some space on the king's side, but I'm not really sure how he will continue. I just played bishop b7. I remember that e5 in similar positions is not so great, because I can just return to e8 and my next move is going to be d6. Let's say white plays bishop e3. I just go d6 attacking this pawn, and once white takes, I take with this knight. This knight can come to either f5 or c4. My rooks will have excellent square on d8 and c8, and this position is just much better for black. So there are no tactical possibilities for white here, so e5 is not a very good move. And Arshak chose to play g4. And at first, okay, this seemed to be not so easy for me. Now some normal play is to push d6 and after g5 go knight d7. This is what I was thinking about at first. And well, my position should be good, because many times in some Scheveningen positions black goes bishop d7, then bishop back to c8 and b7. But here it looks like I saved some time. On the other hand, maybe, I don't know, he put his bishop immediately to g2. He also wasted a move on h3, which is probably not only a waste of time, but also this pawn takes away the square for a rook, because white sometimes wants to play rook f3, rook h3 and try to attack h7 pawn with his queen as well. So this position I thought should be good for black. But still it's not easy. I mean, especially if white player has experience, he can create some attack on the king's side. And well, I was looking for alternatives, and I was checking moves like rook d8 and after g5. Well, I can never really go here because of bishop f3, and I didn't like to have my structure spoiled like this, so this was never a serious option for me. I will go with my knight to e8, and well, I don't know, I mean, about this position. Probably it's also quite okay for me. I think I checked some other options before noticing this move, d5, and I quickly started to like this move. Well, my point is that now, of course, white doesn't have time for g5, and because I will just take knight e4, and it is in a way some, let's say, perfect timing for d5 move, just before opponent got to push g5 and chase away my knight from the center. But okay, there are some other ideas for him. First idea is he can push e5, and here I was not even sure what I was going to do. I might play knight d7. Actually, knight d7 was maybe even my main option, but I was not worried about this position at all, because it looks like a very good version of French defense. And okay, of course I have other options as well. The main move for white is probably takes d5, but then I have this nice move, knight b4. Now I simply want to recapture the pawn and have fantastic position. And if white is really greedy and tries to win some more material, then after rook d8 he's going to have a really hard time. Let's say he takes one more, rook f7, and what is he going to do now? Queen has to protect c2, so bishop d2 looks like the only option. Then I can check, king goes somewhere, and now bishop e3 is probably going to win material. Also rook f2 d7. I mean, position is probably very easily winning for me. So here white would have to play something more modest, and in that case I simply have better position. And after d5, well, probably he didn't have too much of a choice and he had to push e5. And now at first I was planning to go knight d7, to be honest, and just have a very nice setup, but still white will probably do something like bishop e3, try to organize some blockade, put his knight to d4, maybe other knights back to e2, then c3. Okay, it is possible to play such position with white pieces, although I think black is quite comfortable. But then I noticed that maybe knight e4 was not such a bad move, and it was also quite aggressive, and I decided to go for it. Now my main concern is, of course, what happens if white takes. If white doesn't take, then knight e4 must be a good move. So then I take. Now my knight can sometimes go to b4 or a5 and c4. My rooks will have good squares on d8 and c8. Let's just see what happens if white takes this pawn. Then I'm not sure if I start by playing some rook to d8 or knight b4. I'm not sure. Okay, in any case his position looks a bit scary. Let's say like this. He has to go queen e1. I go now knight b4, attacking the pawn on c2 twice. Okay, now if he takes bishop b7, I'm just probably going to take knight c2, and this position should be winning, most probably it is. So he has to go knight c3 to try to protect everything. And here, okay, my position looks really nice, but I was checking things like bishop e4, he has to take with the queen. Then I can try to play rook d4, he just returns to e2, because he cannot take the rook, because of bishop c5, of course. Maybe here I should play rook d4 immediately, and I'm not sure how white is going to react. Well, he has so many weaknesses and problem with his king. My position looks just perfect. So okay, it was not easy to take this knight, and he decided to go for bishop e3. And now he accepts this position. I can take the knight on c3, and he has to take with the pawn, because taking with knight would lose easily after d4. After bishop d4, knight d4, queen d4, I win with bishop c5. So he has to recapture with the pawn. And now, okay, maybe he wants to go rook b1, so I should probably hurry up with knight a5. And he's going to put his bishop to d4. And although my position is definitely okay, it's not so easy, I would say, because he wants sometimes to push his kingside pawns, and I mean, my winning plan is not obvious. I don't know how I'm going to proceed. I didn't want to let him have this position. So I was basically analyzing two moves here. Okay, this was one. my other idea was to play bishop c5, because now he most probably has to take. If he goes knight d4, what was I going to do? I'm not even sure, but somehow it looks... I think I was planning to take on d4, and after bishop takes d4, maybe just go rook a to c8. Now creating a threat, bishop d4, queen d4, knight c3, winning a pawn. And well, okay, maybe it's possible to play like this, but still my position must be preferable. So after bishop c5, I thought his main reply was bishop takes c5. Now I can insert knight c3. He doesn't have any tactical moves. For example, if bishop d6, I can just take queen d6, pawn takes, knight d1, some rook will take, I don't know which one, and then I will just put some rook to d8 and win this pawn on d6. So in this position he would have to take, and I thought maybe with a knight. Then I take the bishop on c5, and again I have positionally some advantage, but I didn't think it was going to be too easy to win. I can try to put my rook to b8, he will probably push b3 at some point, then I will maybe try to open the queen side, maybe enter with my rook to b4, or maybe push c4. Anytime I push d4, his knight will jump to e4. So okay, I thought my position was a bit better, but nothing too much. And then finally, after thinking for a while, I started to consider moves like rook a c8 and rook f d8, just improving my position, because it already seems that okay, well, I didn't really understand how I was going to play. So finally I decided to go rook f to d8. I also considered rook a to d8, but then other rook is left without a good square. So this move looked more logical. And my main idea was that after rook d4, knight d4, this knight is no longer protecting the c3 knight, so I might have some options connected with this. For example, maybe now I can take, and after he takes, I can play knight a5, if nothing better. And now it looked somehow better compared to the position where he had his bishop on d4. Maybe also I can just play knight a5 and try to put this knight to c4 and maybe bishop to c5 and so on. So okay, here I believe he, well, I'm not sure, maybe his position is already not so great, but knight e4 didn't look good to me. After I took, he played queen to c1. Now, okay, I'm not sure how white is going to proceed, but it is also true that I cannot just win by playing some straightforward moves. For example, knight b4 was of course my first idea, attacking the pawn on c2, and this pawn he cannot push, but he has this move, knight c3, and this knight is good here, covering the c-file. Everything seems to be protected, and I cannot win somehow quickly. Still there is some pressure, of course, but after seeing this I decided that rook a c8 was the better move. Now I'm again waiting to see what he's going to do. If he puts his knight to c3 now, then I'm going to jump to d4 with my knight, which is really terrible for him because this knight wants to go to f3. So this is not an option. If he plays his pawn to c3, okay, that's what he did in the game. And of course the main option was to take this pawn on e4, and that's probably what he had to do. And then I don't know, need to jump somewhere with my knight. Most probably knight to a5. This seemed to be the best. Now queen takes b7, and I just recapture with my queen. Now I have a nice square on e4 for my queen, and knight b3 is a threat, so knight d4 seemed to be like the only move. And here I was feeling my position was great. I mean, all my pieces are placed well, and he has weaknesses all over, but still I couldn't find some clear way to win, or at least get some material. So okay, probably I should continue with queen e4. This square seems just too nice, and he would have to play c3. Then maybe I can, if I jump knight c4, he can protect this bishop. If he goes rook e1, I have maybe bishop h4. This, but maybe just bishop f2. Okay, this I went too far. Just my feeling was that here my position would be really great, and that he would have a hard time defending. So he played c3. At first it looked like a mistake to me, but after I started thinking, I understood it was not going to be so easy. And again, my most obvious moves didn't work so well. I mean, for example, after knight a5, I'm threatening with knight b3. He can jump to d4, defending this square, covering the d file, and well, I might sacrifice, but this is just nothing special. Okay, he can even take with a pawn, so this is impossible. I don't know. I mean, I can probably try to jump with my knight to c4, but maybe it's not too bad for him. Even if he loses this bishop, then he will put his rooks to d file and try to defend. Or maybe he can just try to play bishop f2. Still, I didn't see clearly how to win. Okay, of course I can just put my bishop to d5, try to push b5 and b4 and play slowly, but I was feeling there should be something better, so I started to look at this move, rook d3. Now I just put my rook to a very good square. Now my rook is very strong, so this is something I definitely want to do, especially if white doesn't have a good reply. Now I don't want to take rook e3 immediately, but I want to play, let's say, knight a5. If white lets me, I can try to play knight a5, and after knight d4 I will have knight c4. Maybe this is my main idea. And which moves was I considering here? Well, one important idea was b4. Now this pawn move is taking away important squares c5 and a5. But unfortunately for Arshak, I have knight takes b4, and after he takes the knight, I just move my queen, and he cannot protect his pieces. So b4 is not an option. Knight d4 also seems to be quite bad, because I can just take. Now he cannot take with the pawn. Sorry, probably he cannot take with the pawn. I mean, maybe I have better things, but even queen takes c1, which forces him to take with the bishop. Now I can simply take the pawn on d4 if there is nothing better, and the position should be winning. So he has to take with the bishop. Then I can simply play bishop c5, destroy his defending pieces, and after he takes, I take. He has to move the king, and his position should be simply winning. I can double rooks, enter to d2, or many other things. So knight d4 is bad. Rook d1 is maybe some move that he could have tried, but the main option, of course, was bishop takes e4. This was the move I was afraid of the most. And here at first I was calculating, well, I cannot take the bishop because after queen e3 and bishop c5 he can just cover with his knight, and there is nothing here for me. So I looked at some knight jumps. At first I only looked at some jumps that protect the rook, let's say knight e5, and now my idea was, after he takes the rook, I can take like this and then maybe play queen c6 on the next move and organize some attack. And then I noticed, well, maybe I can even play queen c6 immediately. It looked even better. And then I understood that it was simply a checkmate. So he cannot take on d3. He can not take on e5 either, because I will just take his bishop on e4 and the position is hopeless. And the only remaining option is to take on b7, after which I have to take with the queen. He takes now on e5. I looked at some other move as well, yes, but there is nothing else. He has to take, and now the only option I saw was queen to e4. And now I'm attacking his pieces and I'm going to win one of his pieces, and I thought about maybe bishop takes b6, and now I was not sure, I didn't calculate really very carefully, but I just saw after this maybe he can go queen f4, covering the sensitive squares and attacking the pawn on b7, so it seemed not that clear. And well, okay, I decided to look at other moves. Okay, of course I made this calculation before I played rook d3, obviously, because I didn't want to start calculating when it already might be too late. But okay, after I understood that knight e5 was not that easy, I checked other moves. Well, my next move was knight to d4. With similar idea, if bishop takes d3, I can go queen c6. Well, I don't know, maybe, probably this is just lost for white. He must try to play something like this, and bishop h4, okay, this attack must be winning. But after knight d4, I thought that white would be able to just take this, and after bishop takes e4, in the position, okay, maybe I'm better, maybe even not, because he has an extra pawn and I cannot attack his pieces, and I cannot checkmate him because he needs only to play king h2 and protect the g2 square. So okay, of course I have compensation, maybe I'm even better, but it's not so clear. And I continued to look at other moves, and then I found the correct move, knight a5. Now he cannot take the rook because after queen c6 it's a checkmate. Okay, that's what I thought. Actually in the game he did take the rook. So I thought he would have to take on b7, and after queen b7, well, his position really looks ugly, because he can not move his knight anywhere, then rook e3 will come, so the only square where he can move his knight is d4, and then my knight gets to c4, and after he moves his bishop, I will just take on h3 and checkmate from h1. So if he tries to protect this, I saw after rook f3 I can at least take rook d4 and play with extra piece. Or if he goes rook e1, maybe I should put my bishop to c5. This really seemed like too much pressure, and I thought my position would be winning. So after knight a5, I actually already think that his position is pretty much hopeless. He decided to take the rook, and after queen c6, okay, bishop h7 doesn't help much, because I just play king h8 and even this bishop is hanging, so he decided to run immediately. And okay, now bishop h4 is more or less obvious. Knight g3. Now the position looked so much winning that I thought it would be very easy to find just a forced win in a few moves, but still somehow I was spending my time and I didn't find some way that was 100% clear. Finally I decided to play queen f3. Well, if I play knight b3 attacking his queen, then he goes with his queen to d1, and after this check he goes to e1, and after I also take the knight he plays bishop f2. Of course every position is winning around here, but just the clearest possible way was not so obvious for me. Finally I decided to go for this forced line, check on f3. Then here I was thinking again if to take with queen or bishop. I almost thought I finished this calculation, and I proved practically that the position was an easy win by queen takes g3, and after bishop f2 I can take the bishop on d3, and now okay, he must try to take this, and then knight b3 comes, and after queen d1, which is only move, I can simply take. Sorry, I cannot take because he takes with rook. I just check. Not like this either. I check. I forgot my calculation a bit. So I check from e4, and I thought he would have to go queen e2. This is correct. No, I don't take. I just take the rook on a1. Okay, there must be other ways here as well. And I looked at his king moves. For example, king d1 seemed to lose to knight b3. Now he doesn't have time to attack my queen, and if he moves his queen, I just take queen e3, and it's really hopeless because I'm up on material and attacking. So king d2 is really impossible. But then I saw move king e2, and again I had some problems to find some easy win here. So I decided to take with the bishop, and I thought king d2 was the only move, and this is actually not what my opponent played. And after queen g2 check, he has to go king d1, only way to play. I was planning to go knight b3, and after queen c2, bishop f3 check. He cannot cover because queen f1 will come. Yes, queen f1 with checkmate. So he has to give his rook, and now he cannot cover with bishop because of queen h1. So he has to cover with his queen. Then I thought I would probably just give another check, not to let his king come closer to the center. Exchange. Now I was not sure if to start with rook d8 or knight takes a1. And okay, this position is winning, but my knight is in the corner, and he might win some pawns. I even calculated a bit more. After bishop a6, rook a8. Now he has to go bishop b5 to protect his pawn, and maybe I jump knight b3 with the idea to just go back with my knight. If he takes on b6, I take the pawn on f4, and okay, I was somehow not very happy with my calculation because he does have two bishops and three connected passed pawns, and I must admit that he does have some chances. So I definitely didn't play the best possible way around here, or at least I didn't see how to win clearly. So I don't know, this is maybe the only moment in the game that I was not so happy about. I'm sure the position is winning, but still I gave him some practical chances. So okay, maybe I was lucky that after I took the knight, he played bishop f2, and then I just took the bishop on d3, and the position is hopeless because I already have enough material to win. He has to go queen d1. And there were many ways now to play. I could just check and then take the pawn on f4, which is of course completely winning. I decided to take on f2, and after rook f2 to take the pawn on h3, not to open the f file for him, which might give him some chance. Now, okay, I can just simply exchange queens and win in this endgame. I will put my bishop to d5 and it's pretty much hopeless for him. He played queen e2, and now I calculated what I thought was a forced win. I checked on h1. I was expecting him to go rook f1, then I would go queen h4. He repeats. Let's say he goes back with his rook to f2, and then I thought I would go knight b3, rook d1, and knight c5, threatening to go knight e4 and win some material. And after rook d4, I can still go knight e4, and after rook a4 check and take the rook. So this was my plan to finish the game. But after I checked on h1, he covered with queen. I was surprised that he was ready to exchange queens in such positions. I mean, his endgame is of course hopeless, but when I started to think, here I decided not to exchange queens quite yet, because his king is in the center. I can at least grab one more pawn. Now my idea was, if he goes queen e2 back, which is actually what he was about to do, then he changed his mind, then okay, I have my winning combination. So he played rook d1 instead. I just grabbed another pawn, and he put his rook to d6, which didn't look so much threatening. I played my queen to g3. Now he cannot take the pawn because of check, and he loses his rook. So he played queen d3 now, but after the queens are exchanged, it's really completely lost. I closed the d file, not to have any kind of problems with his rooks. I was expecting him to push f5. Okay, of course in this pawn move achieves nothing, but still I was expecting him to do this. Instead he played the rook d4, and after knight c6 he went back. I put my knight to e7 to secure everything completely, and okay, I was really absolutely sure that I was going to win now. He played a few more moves. I will just try to remember how it went. He played b3. Of course I can... no, he didn't play b3. He put his rook to d2 first. And after h5 he played b3. Of course I can simply take this pawn and it's totally winning. But I decided not to let him get any activity at all. I pushed b5. Now he has to protect his weak pawns, but his rooks are busy with defensive tasks, and I just pushed h4, king f2, knight f5, king g1. Now I played bishop e4, rook has to go to h3 to protect the pawn. I started coming with my king. Maybe I want to go with my king to g4 and then just collect his pawns on the king side, and I don't know what. He pushed c4, and after that he played rook c3, but I can just protect my pawn with bishop d5, and well, if he takes, I would probably just take with the rook, and this is of course hopeless for him. So if he pushes b4, I mean, this is not a serious try, and okay, he might try to go rook c2, but I can at least take on b3 anyway. So the position is completely lost, and in this moment Arshak resigned. Okay, I'm quite happy with my game, apart from that moment that I mentioned when I had half an hour on my clock, and okay, I will just check how much time exactly I had. After I played queen c6, I had 33 minutes on my clock and completely winning positions, I thought, in many possible ways. I failed to calculate somehow the cleanest way to finish the game. Other than that, I think I played aggressively and quite well.